Hey guys, I want to thank you so much for being first listeners to this on the podcast, or if you're watching this live. I want to invite you guys as a thank you to be a guest on the show. So all you need to do is send me an email. The email is guest@investingyourselfpod.com. In the subject, say podcast series guest, and in the body, just say, hey, who you are, what your podcast is, where you're about. Send me 3 episodes you think I'll enjoy listening to, and then I'll reach out to you and we'll schedule a time for you to be on the show. So remember, that's guest@investingyourselfpod.com. And I look forward to listening to your podcast and then learning about you. So without further ado, let's listen into today's show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the podcast series. I am, of course, your host with the podcast mogul himself, Phil Better. And today I'm very happy to have the host of Super Cool Radio, podcast that's like a digital radio station that allows musicians to have this cool chance to have new audiences. And I have their host on, Matthew Thomas. Matthew, thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you so much for bringing me on here. I really appreciate it.
The pleasure is all mine. I love chatting with podcasters that are normally outside my regular, area of listening, because I don't really listen to that. I listen to music, obviously. I'm a human being. I'm not crazy or anything like that. I'm not saying that crazy people don't listen to music or anything like that. Figure of speech. But usually music podcasts are not my realm. I'm listening to the marketing podcast, the business podcast, because that's generally what I listen to. So I love getting a chance to talk to someone that's outside my niche so I can learn more from them. But Matt, I'm going to give you a few seconds here. Let us introduce yourself to my audience so they can learn more about you.
Sure, yeah, I'm obviously the host of Super Cool Radio. I interview musicians, I spin music. Sometimes I have some guests from the entertainment realm as well, but it's mostly music focused. But yeah, I started as an internet DJ. That's why Super Cool Radio is an actual internet radio station for a year. But I switched to podcasting to make it easier on myself, not so much demand to have to do stuff either live or pre-tape shows or stuff like that. I can pretty much do my own schedule. So that's why it's radio, but also now a podcast.
There you go. It's a great melange because I'm in my life, how I look at the internet now. I look at it. We have the physical world and we have the metaverse. Like the digital world. Like I was sold. I'm a geriatric or an elder millennial, if you will. So I was sold that the internet was the super highway. Like it's the super internet, like the super knowledge or whatever, the highway of knowledge, if you will. And now it's pretty much has become that. You have Google that just runs the place, but we have Facebook that's kind of be like a mall. You have Amazon that's the Walmart of the world, if you will, in the physical world. And then you have your websites that are like houses and you visit people. So radio, right? We don't have radio in the digital world. It's podcasting. So I love how you're taking, talk radio and pop, if you will, the fun, musical stations and bringing it into one in one area. What got you started in the digital world? Like, why did you want to have a podcast or a digital radio station?
Well, because in my area, which I'm from Indiana in the United States, there wasn't a whole lot of like radio stations that we play music that I wanted to hear, either like bands that weren't getting enough radio time or just some classics. Like I really love Iggy Pop and Alice Cooper, so I was like, they're not really getting any radio time either. So I wanted to create an own space, like my own station that I can have that's full of all the great music that I want to listen to, and I think other people would too, that wasn't getting enough airtime on the local rock or country or pop stations where I lived. And it just happens that internet radio, you can pretty much broadcast anywhere. So I was, mostly focused because like I couldn't listen to anything in my area, but I was like, you know what, let's broadcast this to the world too.
Nice. I love that. And did you have any background in like radio or digital marketing or anything along like audio engineering or anything like that? Are you coming in straight off the street like I have no idea what I'm doing?
I started off super fresh. Just I didn't know anything. I just knew that I wanted to at least try it or do it, and so I was like just learning as I went. That's why like first my first shows and interviews and stuff were just audio focused because that's like I knew sort of how to work around that. And then I started getting more, I started taping videos, so I started editing those. So it was a huge progression. But yeah, I didn't go to school for this. I didn't, have any like formal education in broadcasting or radio or any of that. I just started doing it for fun to see if I could do it without really any knowledge. And I'm pretty happy with where I've been going. I started in 2019, coming up on 3 years in March. So
Nice.
I'm pretty happy about it.
Now, most podcasters, like, so you're 3 years in. You've had your slow growing pains. Have you hit any pod fade? Because like pod fade is something that people hit usually after like 10 episodes. They hit that pod fade. Did you feel that, or were you so enamored with your passionate subject? Like your niche is something you care about because it's the music you care about. So you enjoy that 80s pop, that hair pop. The hair in the 80s were just amazing on those bands, especially like Alice Cooper and the group there. But um did you hit pod fade? Because like it's something that one of my clients is actually facing right now. So how did you deal with like pod fade?
Well, so I started, as I said, with the actual internet radio station. That only lasted a year because I got burned out on doing a show 5 days a week and trying to promote it while also still working 6 days a week as a mechanic. So yeah, it burned me out. So like I took a month or so off, and then I started regrouping as a podcast, and I really haven't stopped. Honestly, I haven't really hit that wall where like I don't want to really do this anymore, or like this is a big struggle for me. I just keep doing it. I've done 120 episodes this year. I was very lucky I was able to get some of the guests that I've had. But I know next year I won't be doing as many, for 2022, just because it's cool that I did all these episodes, but I feel like I might be burning out my own audience because dropping 4 episodes a week, not everyone has the time to watch or listen to all of that. So I'm kind of cutting back not only for myself, but also for my audience as well.
It's understandable. Yeah, it can be depending on the niche you're in, it could be a little too much to a little less. But I want to talk about audience growth and or maybe audience interaction because you do have musical fans are very vocal, obviously, about their love for music and that and their specific artists. But I'm interested, how has the podcast had the interaction with their fans? Like, has it been a slow grow? Was it nearly instantaneous? Like, how did you cultivate that?
Well, it's definitely been a slow growth. I feel like I'm kind of hitting my stride uh, as this year has gone on. But I think that really it's just by pretty much word of mouth. I haven't really spent like too much time like doing like the paid advertising and stuff. It's just I know this person and I did an interview with this person, so now this person knows this person, so I did an interview with this person, and it kind of just grew. That's why like I did so many episodes this year because I really didn't say no to really anyone. I was just like, if you hit me up, yes, it's going to be an interview. We'll set it up. So now I'm kind of being a little bit more selective with that, just because it's I have my responsibilities and commitments for stuff. But I think to grow the audience, it's really just knowing people. I think if you're reaching out to musicians who, this may be their first time doing an interview or they don't get many interviews. So like they're more receptive to it. And especially if you treat them right, obviously, with
Mhm.
every guest, I think as just obviously if you're respectful and you do what you say you're gonna do, I think that means a lot for them who the music industry and kind of the entertainment industry in general, it's a little rough, especially breaking into it. So these people, like anyone who actually treats them decently, promotes their music, says nice things about them, I think it goes a long way, and I think that's kind of what's been leading to my audience growth as of late.
Okay. And how did you first start reaching out to these musicians? Because getting a musician is probably not the easiest thing to handle because you have the different gatekeepers, but also their schedule is up in the air. So actually having time to lock in for a good chunk of interview. How did you start reaching out to these musicians?
Well, I met a few of them. Obviously, locally, I would go to shows. Not a whole lot of shows. I started really going to shows in 2019. But going to concerts, interacting them, handing them a business card, say, hey, I'd like to play your music on my show when I had my station. And that's kind of what really started is, a lot of musicians, or I should say quite a few musicians, like that kind of face-to-face interaction where, they see you and they, you give them a business card, you can pass as legit because unfortunately with a lot of, record labels and other radio stations, podcasters, some just turn out not to be legit or just want, hey, I'll play your music for X amount of money.
Yeah.
So people are already kind of suspicious when you say, "Hey, I like your music. I want to interview you." Some people could be suspicious about that, but I guess I come off very genuine because I actually like the music, and I think that reflects it when I talk to people. And sometimes, obviously, you just have a well-worded email. Obviously, I explain who I am and why I like the music and stuff, and I think that goes a long way too. Because instead of just saying like dropping a one-word, one sentence email of saying, "Hey, this is who I am. I want to interview you," I go a little bit beyond that to say, "This is my show. This is what I do. This is where the countries I'm in. How many countries I'm in, and this is why I like your music." I think it goes a long way that kind of, says, okay, this person seems legit, seems genuine. So now, I'll reach out. Sometimes, I get blown off on stuff, it happens, I don't really mind too much. But I think you just got to approach it, just be genuine, say why you like their music, especially if you're going for a musician. Or if you see them at a show sometimes, drop them a business card and say who you are, stop by, chat with them if they have time, if they're there. I think that also goes a long way.
It's such reminiscent how you're telling us how you're getting guests of a previous guest, Travis Chappell. I don't know if you know, he's the networking guy in podcasting. He's been able to interview, like, I think in like within 50 episodes of his podcast launching, Grant Cardone and the likes of Tim Ferriss, and he just recently interviewed Shaq, which was just mind blowing. Yeah, right. This podcaster, he has this podcast, Networking on Networking. It's an amazing podcast. I had the privilege of interviewing him, but he released his secret formula of getting guests, and it's exactly how you do it. It's you tell them who you are. This is what you can bring to the table. This is why you want them on the table, and you just hope and you say thank you. And some of his guests, it takes up to 6 months, but he's dealing with, like, just like you're dealing with musicians, so it could take 6 months to get through those gatekeepers until you get to the right person.
For sure, and definitely, I'm definitely gonna have to check that podcast out. But yeah, I've talked to a few other podcasters, some other podcasts I listen to. That it's like, yeah, because I was like, oh, how'd you get in contact with this person, or how was it interviewing this person, or whoever they had. It's like, yeah, that interview took like a year to set up. I know one, took 2 years to set up, where it was just because of the timing. He was on tour, everything. I will say that like 2020, obviously there was a pandemic,
Yeah.
obviously going on, but that also kind of allowed more people to do interviews because you can't go out for, can't tour, can't have shows. So I think more people were receptive last year to it just because like, well, I have nothing else to do right now. I might as well promote my band or, my music or whatever because there is time.
Nice. I like that. I like that. Where do you foresee Super Cool Radio going? Like you said, you're celebrating 3 years in a couple months. Like, you're like less than 5 months out celebrating 3 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I remember when I was celebrating my 3 years for the Phil Better show, and I'm looking forward to celebrating 3 years with this one and my other shows. But where do you see yourself going? Like, do you have some, like, those dream guests? Like, what are we looking at dream guest wise before we go into the future? Like, who do you want on the show? Like, if I could get you the guest, who is it? Who are we looking for?
Number one, hands down, is Alice Cooper. He's my favorite artist. He was my first ever concert that I actually went to. So he holds a lot of uh
Sway.
yeah, he's got a spot in my heart just because of just everything he does, the theatrics, the music, the way he's able to shift his music. Sometimes it's more hard rock, like his new album was all classic rock. So I can go on forever talking about Alice Cooper. But I have all of his studio albums and everything. It's just he's an awesome person to talk to. I've obviously I watched other interviews with him, and he doesn't just talk about music. Talks about life, his religion, relationships, all that stuff. So I think he would just be an awesome guest, and especially just I might fanboy out a little bit just because I love his music so much.
No, I can guarantee you will fanboy when you get that opportunity to interview someone who's on your top 10 of dream guests. You're just like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then at the end of it, you're like, I so screwed up. Oh my god. Oh my god, I can't believe that. I cannot release this episode. But other people are telling you, no, it was a great episode. And you're like, oh. Um,
I feel you on that.
oh god. Um, but yeah, so we have Alice Cooper. Obviously, you're working your way up to it.
Oh yeah.
Probably within 5 years, you're gonna get Alice Cooper for sure. With the way you're going. But where do you want to go? Like, where do you see yourself? Do you get syndicated? Do you sign some multi-million dollar? Like, do you have a dream of where you want to go, or are you just doing this for the fun of it?
I mean, right now it's obviously for the fun right now. I mean, if this could be my full-time job, I absolutely yes, 100% do it. I've been bouncing around. Should I get syndication? I know I'm working on making a submission for the streaming service Tubi to get Super Cool Radio on there. So I'm working on that. See what I have to do for that. Just try to get it everywhere. For obviously, if I could make this my full-time job, I would. But kind of looking for the next year. Obviously I want, obviously, the bigger guests are awesome. Anyone who I want to interview, pretty much. If it's someone who I see myself like having a great conversation with, obviously I want to do it. So obviously I got some names and stuff, but yeah, for podcasting, syndication would be cool. It would be awesome. I mean, if I signed a multi-million dollar deal, that would be amazing. It's not in my realm right now. I don't think I'm at that place right now. If that offer ever comes up, of course I'm going to really consider it. For right now, I want to do it for the fun, and kind of see where it goes. I started this in hopes I would get a job in radio or some type of production company somewhere. So that's kind of what I'm still looking at. I mean, if someone would offer me a job, somewhere and it'd be decent, I would like it. I probably would take it, but we'll see where Super Cool Radio goes with that. But it's really just a way to network with people to kind of just build obviously my reputation and to showcase my work that I'm currently doing.
I love it. I love it. Using it as a portfolio, as we should as
Yes,
podcasters, because we are just like artists, because we have to craft these stories that we tell on these shows. So I love how you're looking at it as a portfolio. That's awesome. Um, I want to know, like, with your fandom, where do you see the most interaction on your social media? Is it on your Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikToks, YouTube page even, or emails?
honestly, it's probably emails. I would say emails, and then Facebook a close second for like interaction and stuff. I know I get a bunch of emails a week of either people saying, "Hey, can you play this music on my show?" or "Can you interview me?" I know I get a lot of that, and I try to respond as best I can or as quickly as I can because of how many I get in. But on the social media side, I would definitely say Facebook because that's where I started. I had Facebook and really no other social media sites for a
Yeah.
long time. So, which is, by the way, not a great idea. Get all the social media sites right away.
Great advice. Yeah. You may not have to grow them, just have them so you have the property, that you can then grow later on.
You have a presence, even if you don't really use it, just have the presence for it. But yes, I would say Facebook just because it's my largest audience that I have. It's got 2,000 likes right now, which I'm very proud of. But yeah, it's probably the most because like I can share it and it's easier to tag people and stuff. Because like Instagram, like you can tag people, it's kind of harder for them to share unless they go to like directly to like a story or something. So like it's harder to do that unless they do like a repost or whatever. And then Twitter actually is gaining some speed probably in the last couple of weeks, I'm getting a lot of retweets and stuff, and so much so Twitter like sends me a message saying, "Hey, your tweet's getting a lot of attention. Do you want this or do you want to limit it?" I'm like, "Do not limit that. Keep going."
Never limit ever.
Exactly.
Remove all limits, because that's how you grow. Um, I want to know, you've how long were you listening to podcasts before you started podcasting, or was it I started podcasting then started listening to podcasting?
The latter on that one.
Oh, really? Interesting. So you had the internet radio, and from internet radio, that's when you started listening to podcasting.
Yes. Yeah, it was yeah, it was kind of I didn't really think too much through. I just thought, oh, I can totally do this. It's pretty simple. And then I find out that like podcasting is definitely not very simple. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, people forget you're running a. I look at podcasting as a radio station. You're running a full blown radio station, so you have, you have to have on air talent like I am and you are, and then you have to be the CEO where you have to go. Okay, where are we spending the money for marketing? Are we going to hire someone? Or are we going to do it yourselves? Okay, we're going to do it ourselves. How much are we spending there? Then it's like, okay, I have to do the copy. I have to do the editing. I have to. So yeah, you're running a full on radio station. It's not just the fun part being on air talent. That's that's just a small portion of your job.
Yeah, that's like a quarter of the time. I don't think people actually realize like the final product that like you see on either your podcast, your show, and like my show is really only like a quarter of the time that like it's actually was fun. Like, you
Yeah.
still have like the editing and you have the promotion, the artwork, which I'm really trying to focus on is just get great artwork for that actually draws people in. It doesn't
Yeah.
just I used to just put up like a picture and go, hey, here's how I'm interviewing. Well, no one's really gonna, they see the
No
picture.
one interact. That's like, okay, that's a nice picture. What's going on here? What are we caring about this for?
Exactly. So I've stepped up, like I'm making like digital flyers. I got to make sure like on, Instagram's a different size. So you have to make sure that like you have to size it properly. And like Twitter, yeah, they're usually pretty good with photos, but like Facebook's a different size. So you only see like half the poster. So yeah, getting good artwork, you really have to draw people in. Even if they don't exactly know like what it is, if you give the context, like, hey, I'm interviewing this person at this time on these platforms, it seems to do a lot better than just here's a picture of this guy smiling.
Yeah, I love those. It's just like, hey, I'm interviewing, Jordan Belfort, and people are like, I don't know who he is, or they're like, okay, it's this guy who's smiling, But if you put like, I'm interviewing the Wolf of Wall Street, and you make it like the Wolf of Wall Street looks like money, all that symbolism in, it, and then you just have his picture there, and then it's like, oh, interesting, I like this. There was a movie.
Yeah, you really again, you got to draw people in with that, and that's why like I'm really trying to step up the artwork. Obviously, I right now I do everything,
Yeah,
editing,
well,
artwork, all that.
it's part of the job. It's when you're until you start making a good income from it, that's when you can start hiring out. And I built systems in place for my thing because I'm a solo. I run, as my audience knows, and you may not know, I run 6 podcasts myself, where I'm the host or co-host, and I help build that. But I'm also executive producer on 18 other podcasts.
Oh wow.
So, which goes from full production, where it's like, okay, they give me the content and I handle everything, to just the ones that I really enjoy. It's just they email me a question, or they're like, hey, can we set up a meeting? I'm like, yeah, sure. This is easy work. This is nothing. This is me talking. I do this for a living. But so I understand running when you're running multiple podcasts, you have to have those systems in place and handling it and streamlining it all down. Matt, I want to know a pain point that you're facing. Like, what is something that you're facing right now in the podcasting world? And maybe, luckily, either myself or my audience, they're listening, because this is a podcast for podcasters
Yeah.
to learn from other podcasts, but also a resource for people to say, hey, I want to listen to a podcast about music. And they can listen to either yours or some of our other podcasters that we know each other. What is a pain point that you're hitting at and that you're trying desperately to solve?
I think definitely like honestly, I was talking about my audience growth, which I really much appreciated, but still like that social media engagement, I would say, because like sometimes like I make a post and like a bunch of people respond, get a bunch of shares, all that fun stuff, and then like I'll make like 2 other posts, throughout that week, and like nobody, like there's no interactions, there's no shares, there's no comments, no nothing. So I want to get like more consistent with that stuff where I can kind of gauge like okay I should be getting this amount of stuff or whatever based on the posts and whatever. So I'm trying to really get consistent engagement, like the posts that reach thousands of people. That's cool. I love that. But then like the rest of the posts of the week don't reach anybody. I kind of want to even it out a little bit, get some more engagement. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that. I do know I want to promote stuff more because like with my videos, like my YouTube videos, my interviews, sometimes I get a bunch of people, sometimes I get 4 people, so I'm trying to really just get more engagement for everything. And that's why I'm not doing as many episodes for 2022 is just because I want to really focus on the promotion side, that people actually see it. The people who I want to see it are seeing it.
Okay, no, I like that. I like that growth. Something I may suggest, and this is
Sure.
something that is freely available to anybody who's listening, and of course yours, is the Gary V $80 method or strategy. He calls it, and it's a free. It's not behind any paywall. You can put it in, and you'll get redirected to Gary V's website. And I'll try and make sure I can remember to put the link in the show notes for the audience. But it's Gary V's $80 method, and basically breaking it down, you spend about an hour a day choosing your social media platforms, so Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and you choose your top 5 hashtags for your podcast or for your niche. And then you go to the first five profiles, go into them, and look at the replies or the comments on theirs. And anyone, obviously, you like, and you leave a actual genuine comment about the picture if it invokes anything, or if the tweet invokes anything, or the blog put kind of like the Facebook post engages with you. And then you look at the first couple of comments, and if anything like stands out and you think, oh, I have a great comment, like, so if it's not just like a same, or like, or the fire emoji or something about it, it's like something engaging that you're like, oh, I can reply to this. You reply to it, you like, and you reply to it, and then you go to their profile and you look at their profile and see if there's anything that engages with you there and you like in there. I know a friend of mine, and a great Montrealer YouTuber, did that. That's how he got me to follow him. He literally liked one of my comments on another YouTuber's page, jumped over, liked, commented, and liked a video of mine. And then I'm like, I'm just going to follow this guy. That's the greatest thing anybody's ever done. He's never seen anything, you know? So it actually works. Like, it worked for me to go him, and I seen him grow from zero to monetization on on his YouTube channel, and his social media is through the roof now. And he actually met his girlfriend, like, he through because of his Instagram, and that grew. He got a DMs. She slid into his DMs. But yeah, so that's something I want to give you, something that you can look at doing your promotion. It's an hour of your day doing that. And even if you get one follower a day after an hour, that still wins, right? Because you're getting that extra listen, you're getting that extra stuff. Um, I want to know what you're listening to right now. Like, what's on your podcast? If I grabbed your iPhone, your Android, or whatever your listening device, and I go into podcast, what am I listening to right now? I'm pressing play.
I would say that definitely, there's 3 definitely, gotta say my good friend, person you've, obviously interviewed as well, that is Nolan of Every Podcast I Love Is Dead. I love working with him. He just celebrated his 1-year anniversary. He had me
Yeah.
do a soundbite for it. I crashed his show. I said, "This is a super cool radio takeover." So it's fun seeing that, and then it's, obviously it's fun listening back to see, like, how does he incorporate it, and, how does he play it off? So yeah, definitely Every Podcast I Love Is Dead. Definitely check out his stuff. He's phenomenal. Honestly, I think I did more episodes than him this year. There we go. Words are hard.
As
Uh,
podcasters, yes, they generally are hard to come by. I feel you there.
but he does such a great product. He does like news and show updates and stuff, and like he does like a whole show. Like I mostly do like an interview. Maybe I play some music in an episode, but like he does like a whole actual episode. So definitely check him out. And then Joe Rogan is awesome. I love seeing how he interacts with his guests. Like, obviously he's had like musicians and entertainers and obviously politicians, so many people, but he's able to talk with them about not really their field of what they're in. Like he's talked to like musicians about like current events or like the state of
Get
the
their
world
their
and
feel
stuff.
on what's going on in the world. Not just saying, "Hey, you're just a musician, you're a one-dimensional person." No, you're actually a human being. You have more dimensions than just, "Hey, he's a rock star," or "She's a rock star," or "They're a rock star."
Exactly, and, like, I know he had a really great, conversation with Billy Corgan, like, it was music-based, it was talking about record labels and stuff, but, like, a different aspect
Mhm.
of, the music industry, talking about the record labels and their contracts and stuff, so I think I wanna kinda dive into a little bit of that with my interviews where, yes, we are gonna talk about your music, about what you're promoting right now, but also kinda just some fun stuff too, just because, like, we're all humans, we all enjoy fun stuff, we all have different things we like to enjoy. And I kind of want to incorporate that more instead of just like business, like this is what we're talking about. It's only your music, that kind of stuff.
No, I get it. I get it. I love it. I love it. All right. So those are good things. Two good podcasts to have on your radio. Obviously, Joe Rogan, massively known for the
Oh, yeah.
UFC, Fear Factor, and of course his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, and having these amazing guests and having unique conversations. But every podcast I love is dead. Of course, an amazing podcaster, Nolan. Having him on the show was great. Learning about his show was even better. Matt, we're coming to the end. I'm
Sure.
going to jump off screen. I want you to tell us where we can find you, how we can support you, anything like that. You got 5 minutes. You don't have to use the 5 minutes, but as a podcaster, I know how valuable time is. So you got 5 minutes. Take care of it. I'll come back and then we'll close out the show. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Phil, for the great opportunity for being on this show. I very much appreciate it. If anyone's interested, please check out Super Cool Radio. It is Super Cool Radio SB on Facebook and Instagram, and just at Super Cool Radio on Twitter. I drop episodes pretty much every week on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, Rumble, all of those places. So if you like just listening to them, check them out on Spotify. If you want to actually watch my interviews and content, check it out on YouTube, and all of that I do every Friday when I come back. I'm going on break very soon, but when I come back mid-January, I got some great guests lined up. But also every Friday is Super Cool Radio on air. It's 1 hour of great music. Most of them are independent or up and coming musicians you might not hear on other radio stations. So make sure to check it out. And honestly, my big goal with all of this is to promote and showcase some of the best independent and up and coming artists. So if you like any of the music I feature on my show, make sure to check them out, give them a stream, give them a like, give them a follow, because that is my main goal with doing all of this. Obviously, I do it because I love it, but it's also to promote really great music that should be heard. So make sure to check me out on all those places.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you so much for being a guest, sharing your journey with us, sharing your passion of helping independent artists grow to the level that they should be, because I believe every creative should be able to be paid for their work. My audience, of course, I want to thank you for listening. You guys are awesome. Make sure you check out the show notes, all the stuff for Matt, to connect with him, to follow him, and all that. And I will try and remember. I think there was a podcast episode I was supposed to link to or something. I don't know. I'll listen back to the episode, maybe. I
Okay.
don't know. And there may be links, but I'm pretty sure. Or the Gary V. It's the Gary V thing.
Yes, yes.
I'll make sure the Gary V thing is linked down in the show notes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for listening. Remember to invest in yourself, start a podcast, and you'll have the best time of your life. Good night. Hey, everybody. I want to thank you so much for watching the show and listening to the podcast. As a thank you, remember, you can always head over to my website, philbetterinc.com, and get free 15 minutes with me to talk about how you can grow your podcast, how to monetize your podcast, or even how to start your podcast. I have helped lots of people, and I want to help you do the same for your business or just for your personal brand. So again, that is philbetterinc.com. Head over there, book your free 15 minutes, and it'll be a pleasure to help you out. Have a good night, and remember to invest in yourself.